Hello guys, and welcome to another reaction, this time with Lost in the Pond. This is something I've seen a lot of channels do reactions to, so I figured I'd do a couple as well. I went right to his most popular video because especially it hit me. 5 ways British and American bedrooms are very different. Well, I'm American, and I can tell you I've never imagined that bedrooms would be different no matter where you are in the world. So I'm curious. Let's find out how they're different.
One of the most common bedroom differences I get asked about is, why do Americans sleep with that extra sheet between the quilt and you?
What are you talking about? First off, I don't remember what a quilt is. A bed coverlet of 2 layers of cloth filled with padding such as down or batting, held in place by ties or stitched designs. Isn't a quilt just like a really ancient blanket that they don't make anymore? Isn't that what a quilt is? We don't sleep with quilts to begin with. Say that again.
I get asked about is, why do Americans sleep with that extra sheet between the quilt and you?
The quilt and you. Yeah, we don't have quilts. I've never seen it. I've never seen a quilt in America, I think. I sleep with a blanket. But what do you mean an extra sheet? What does that mean? What extra sheet?
Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to bedrooms. In Britain and throughout the world, people need a designated room where they can go to sleep and do other stuff, like reading, for example. But depending on the country that you're in, the bedroom, a word supposedly coined by Shakespeare, might take a different form. And as somebody who has lived extensively in both Britain and America, this is most certainly true of those 2 countries. And so without further ado, here are 5 ways that British and American bedrooms are very different.
Built-in closets.
Before we even get to the main centerpiece of the bedroom, which is the bed, there is one major thing that American bedrooms have that most British bedrooms do not, and it's something contained not within the 4 walls of the bedroom, but within the wall. I'm talking about built-in closets. Now, this is my walk-in closet.
That's a tiny fucking closet. Oh my god.
I say mine, I mean it is shared with my wife, of course.
It's that small and you share it? How do you live like that?
I say shared, I mean it's mostly hers.
Where's your stuff?
So you might be thinking, well, Lawrence, where do British people...
I don't know how to set his volume, guys. The music and stuff he brings up is so loud compared to his voice.
People hang their clothes, and the answer is simple. In a wardrobe that admittedly takes up more space, unless it leads to Narnia. But while
Well, like, I have a closet. I have, like, a dresser. But it's in the closet. Like, that closet didn't even have room for a dresser.
America may have the advantage in the closet department. Britain is still leading the way on these.
Hot water bottles. What does that even mean? What? What is a hot water bottle? In a bedroom? It's just a water bottle in your bedroom, but it's hot?
Back in the days when I still dressed like a child, you bought me this t-shirt, so you can leave it out. Back in the days when I was still a child, I distinctly remember sleeping alongside a rubber accessory that was filled with hot water. It was a hot water bottle, and it was one of those things that I'd forgotten about.
I've seen those. I saw those when I was a kid. My grandma had one, I think.
Until researching for this video. For anyone not in the know, a hot water bottle is exactly the accessory I just described, and its purpose is to keep you warm while you sleep.
Okay, well that's not the same thing. Whatever I'm remembering was more for your back. Like you put it up against your back. It wasn't to keep you warm, it was for like your muscles.
Can be a problem if you accidentally burst it, because then your parents think you have another problem and you have to go see a doctor. Now, with the advent of electric blankets, hot water bottles have seen a decline in popularity.
What the fuck is an electric blanket? When was this video made? 4 years? What the fuck is an electric blanket? First, there's this mystical sheet under a quilt. I don't even know what any of this is. Now there's electric blankets.
This is particularly true in the United States, but I have it on good authority that people still occasionally use them in Britain. But part of me believes that most of them just use it to refill their tea without leaving the bed.
How would you refill your tea with hot water? Did you keep the tea bag in the tea? That's gonna make it so bitter. That's gonna hurt your stomach. Why would you do that?
As always, when it comes to comparing British and American things, inevitably it always comes back to size. And you might not be too surprised to learn that American beds on the whole are longer, wider, or sometimes both than British beds. So let's take a look at how that plays out, or lays out. That's a bed pun. Sorry, let's just take a look. So the smallest bed size in the United States is the twin bed. This measures in at roughly 39 by 75 inches. And its nearest equivalent in Britain is a single bed, which is just as long as an American twin.
No, when I was a kid, I had a single bed. I'm from New York, and I had a single bed when I was a kid. Only when I was a kid. As an adult, I've never had anything smaller than, I think that's a queen size. Or a king size, whichever one of those is smaller.
Twin, but 4 inches less wide. After that, America has a twin XL, which is coupled with Britain's small double. Try saying that after 4 whiskeys. And then America has what is known as the full-size mattress. This is 54 inches by 75. This is almost identical to the double-size mattress in Britain. From here on out, things become like a game of chess, as both countries sort of introduce a royal family of mattress sizes. In the US, some people sleep on the Queen, not the Queen, that would be breaking news, on a queen-sized mattress, which is about 60 inches by 80.
I'm pretty sure that's what I have.
This is virtually identical to Britain's king-size mattress. But neither country ousts their bedroom monarchy there. What's better than a queen? A super queen.
What?
In the US, this measures in at 66 inches by 80.
I thought it went up to a king
enough,
next.
The nearest equivalent in Britain is called, can you guess what it's called? Can you? It's called a super king, and it's 72 inches by 80. And so Britain wins, except it doesn't, because America also has a king-size bed that measures 76 by 80. And at this point, Britain's mattresses abdicated the throne, while America's just kept going with the California king at 72 inches by 84, and that's just showing off.
Is that what a California king is? I've heard that before, and I never knew what it was talking about.
This additional size is why Americans are more likely to use one of these.
Box
However
spring?
massive the mattress, it's more common in the US than the UK for it to sit on top of what is known as a box spring. And while I definitely couldn't claim to be a bed connoisseur, I hadn't heard of the phrase box spring until I moved to America. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, we don't call it that. Apparently, we call it either a sprung bed base or a divan. I've never used those terms either, and that's because this particular contraption is much less common in Britain. And so what is this contraption? Well, a box spring is a base that sits under your mattress that sort of incorporates a spring system like you might find in your mattress. And the idea is with that additional bounce, I won't keep doing that, the springs in the mattress have a greater shelf life. In Britain, our mattresses tend to sit on harder surfaces, meaning that the springs in your mattress wear down more quickly depending on how much you put them under your...
Sorry, I can't get past that one part. What the fuck? What the fuck was that?
Mine were mostly fine, but so much for what goes under the mattress. Let's take a look at what goes on top.
Bedding!
One of the most common bedroom differences I get asked about is, why do Americans sleep with that extra sheet between the quilt and you?
Yeah,
and
please.
This is what's known as a top sheet. And while I have read that top sheets have become less popular among younger Americans, they are nonetheless still in wide use. But what purpose do they serve? Well, aside from adding an additional layer of warmth for Americans that don't know the joys of a hot water bottle, a top sheet is often used for hygienic reasons. The theory being that your body, and therefore body odor and sweat and dirt, doesn't come into contact with the comforter/quilt. And I can get behind this idea because it means you can wash the comforter less often. Who needs bulky laundry? Now, because
I mean, I just wash everything at once. A top sheet? I don't know. Gross. I hate that. It's not comfortable. That's why the blanket can be called a comforter, right? It's because it's comforting, right? You want contact with that, not some dumb sheet. And then if I ever use like more than just the blanket, it's just another blanket, you know? Not a sheet.
Americans are more
Like sheets plus blanket, that's what like an old person does. Like that's what when I was a kid, someone that was already 70 years old was doing. Nobody does that anymore.
more likely to use this approach than British people. They're also more likely to not use a duvet cover because what's the point?
What the fuck's a duvet cover?
In Britain, this is largely how we get around the hygiene problem, if indeed we choose to. Now, if Reddit is anything to go by, then this is the source of a heated debate. So let me know in the comments below, top sheet or no top sheet.
Honestly, this is where I'm just happy I don't use Reddit. They'll argue about anything and everything.
As for me and my American wife, we compromised on both a top sheet and a quilt cover for some reason. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below how you keep your bedroom. Just keep it general. And don't forget...
Well, if the quilt's the blanket, and then you have the top sheet, and that's like goes under, and then a cover on top, I think the reason for that is because women are heaters. They're human heaters, and they just spray all their heat just everywhere except for on them. So they need the extra warmth. They need it to contain their warmth so that they can stay warm, so that while you're suffocating and dying and sweating, they can have a good night's sleep.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. A big shout out to all of my patrons who make these videos possible. If you would like to become a patron of Lost in the Pond, you can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond.
Yay.
Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye. Awesome. Yeah, so I have 2 blankets. And the reason why I have 2 blankets right now is because the main blanket, the comforter part of it, is not long enough. It's not as long as like I am. So my feet can like come out the bottom of it, or it just won't come up as far as I want it to. So I have this second blanket so I can actually, you know, be covered. It's like a thinner blanket. It's not as like comforting of one, but it's still a blanket. It's not a sheet. I don't know. Whatever. I learned stuff. That was cool. I didn't know that there was differences. I still don't even know half of what the differences were. The bed sizes. Okay, I didn't really know that was a difference. I don't really understand box springs even after he explained them. The top sheet freaks me out. Hot water bottles. Yeah, we don't use this. This also isn't a water bottle, so I don't get it. And closets. The scariest thing was that he didn't clarify like what the case is in Britain. So what, you just don't have closets in Britain at all? You just have wardrobes? And then the closet he showed is the smallest closet I think I've seen in my entire life. Like for like a clothing closet. That is just insane. My closet is much, much, much larger than this. Regardless, that's the video. I'm definitely going to watch a little bit more of him in these upcoming weeks. So if you want to see any videos for me to react to, feel free to leave those in the comments. Do not leave links. YouTube will eat those. Leave those in the Discord in the description below. Otherwise, names and channel names will do just fine. But for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.